What if the world judged your body before it even knew your name? Imagine walking into a room and all eyes land on you, not because of who you are, but because of how different you look. Like the towering man from Ghana who stands at a staggering 9 feet 6 inches. His bed doesn't fit. His doors don't fit. Even the world feels too small for him. Or the woman whose chest size once caused her to fall down a flight of stairs. Not out of clumsiness, but because her anatomy defied balance itself. Welcome to Africa, where the human body pushes every limit you thought existed. These aren't myths or exaggerations. These are real people with real features so extraordinary, they leave scientists speechless and strangers staring. From record-breaking height to jaw-dropping strength, get ready to meet 13 individuals with the largest body parts ever seen on the African continent. You won't believe number 7. They didn't need fairy tales. The Umbalanu women of Namibia were living legends, Africa's real-life Rapunzels, with hair that didn't just flow, it brushed the earth. For generations, these women were celebrated for growing some of the longest natural hair ever seen on the continent. But don't get it twisted, this wasn't luck or some magical gene pool. This was ritual, devotion, and a deep-rooted cultural practice passed down through time. From childhood, Umbalanu girls entered a sacred journey of hair care. Their locks were nurtured with a rich blend of natural oils, tree bark, herbs, and crushed ochre, forming a protective and powerful mix. As the years passed, their hair wasn't just left to grow, it was woven, braided, and shaped into floor-length locks that spoke volumes about their beauty, maturity, and place in society. By the time a girl became a woman, her hair had transformed into more than strands. It was a cultural crown. These intricate styles weren't just for show. They marked major life moments, initiations, weddings, sacred ceremonies. Each lock held a story. Each braid, a memory. But as colonial influence and modern beauty norms crept into Namibia, the tradition began to fade. Today, what once stood as a towering symbol of pride lives on mostly in photos and oral history. Still, the legacy of the Umbalanu women whispers through time, a reminder that true beauty isn't in trends, but in tradition. NBA players might seem like giants, until you stand them next to Abiadin Adigok. At a staggering 7 feet 11 inches, this Nigerian phenom isn't just tall, he's borderline unreal. Nicknamed Big Niger, Abiadin's presence is enough to make even seasoned pros look up in disbelief. And he's not some clumsy giant either. This guy moves. Quick feet, smooth strides, and a shot-blocking reach that feels downright unfair. Watching him on the court is like watching a video game character on cheat mode, but in real life. Born in Nigeria, Abiadin's insane height started turning heads from a young age. But here's the twist, his exact height became a mystery. Reports floated between 7 feet 9 inches and 7 feet 11 inches, and even scouts couldn't pin it down. But when you're dunking without jumping, who cares about the decimals? That's exactly what happened when a clip of him casually slamming down a dunk lit up the internet. Even Shaquille O'Neal couldn't look away. Shaq shared the video, hyped him up, and just like that, the whole world was watching. But behind the viral fame is a story rooted in grit. Abiadin didn't grow up with elite training facilities, fancy coaches, or endless sneaker deals. In Nigeria, just finding shoes that fit, or getting medical checkups for someone that size, is a challenge. But he never let that stop him. He kept grinding, kept showing up. And now he's chasing the NBA not just for himself, but to prove to every kid watching from afar that even the wildest dreams can stand tall, really tall, if you don't stop reaching. Most teenage athletes dream of going big. But ring a well can Maluak? He's already doing it, on a global stage. At just 17 years old, this South Sudanese prodigy is competing in Olympic qualifiers, going toe-to-toe with seasoned professionals, and putting his nation on the map. Standing at 7 feet 2 inches, and still growing, Ring doesn't just look like the future of basketball, he's living it. But here's the thing, his story didn't start with crowds or cameras. It started in conflict, in the war-torn shadows of South Sudan. His early life wasn't about jump shots or championships. It was about survival. Yet even in the harshest conditions, his natural ability couldn't be hidden. Through the NBA Academy Africa, Ring found his path. He focused, trimmed, and transformed raw talent into something undeniable. When he stepped onto the court during the FIBA World Cup qualifiers, people took notice. Scouts, fans, legends, everyone watched. His wingspan? Ridiculous. His speed? Shocking for his size. And his court awareness? Way beyond his years. But what really sets Ring apart isn't just the stats or potential, it's the purpose he plays with. Every bucket, every block, every stride isn't just for a win. It's for a people, a country, and a dream far bigger than basketball. He can't find shoes that fit. He has to duck through every doorway. Strangers stop and stare like they've just seen a giant walk out of a storybook. But Charles Saggly isn't looking for fame. He's just trying to live a normal life, in a body that refuses to go unnoticed. Standing over 7 feet tall, Charles is known as the tallest man in Ghana's Volta region, but with every inch of height comes a heavy dose of daily struggle. His feet? Massive. So big regular shoes are a joke. Nothing fits, not even close. So Charles walks barefoot through streets that weren't built for giants. And what's inconvenient for most is downright dangerous for him. Sharp rocks, hot pavement, no protection. His mother says she carried him for 10 full months before giving birth, almost like the world needed extra time to prepare for someone this unique. And from day one, everyone knew this kid was different. As the years passed, he kept growing, fast and without pause. But behind the awe and attention is a man dealing with a body that doesn't fit the world around him. Clothes? Forget it. Furniture? Doesn't work. Public transport? Not a chance. Life for Charles has been one constant hustle just to access the basics. He's not chasing clout. Not asking for the spotlight. All he wants is medical help and a pair of shoes, custom-made, strong enough to support him, and safe enough to walk in. Something most people take for granted, Charles sees as a lifeline. Because when you live in a world that doesn't make space for you, sometimes standing tall is the hardest thing of all. When people talk about dedication, most think of routines, discipline, maybe waking up early. But John Weru? His version of commitment stretches over a foot long, on each hand. This Kenyan man has spent over 25 years growing his fingernails, and what he's created is nothing short of unbelievable. Curved, twisted, and stretching out like something from a sci-fi film, his nails aren't just a record attempt, they're a lifestyle. From his home in Changamwe, John's claws have earned him the title of longest fingernails in Africa, and he's not stopping until the world takes notice, Guinness World Record notice. But these aren't just nails. They're a symbol of patience, pride, and purpose. People stare. Some whisper. Others laugh. But John? He stands tall. Because to him, this isn't weird. It's a form of discipline turned legacy. He doesn't rely on expensive products or fancy salons. Just raw commitment and a careful hand. And yeah, everyday life? That's a challenge. Buttoning a shirt feels like defusing a bomb. Using a phone is a full-body workout. A handshake? Forget it. But John never flinches. He embraces the inconvenience for what it is, the price of standing out in a world that demands conformity. Interviews, local media, curious crowds. He's become a low-key legend, not just for the nails, but for the bold refusal to trim himself down to fit expectations. His nails aren't just growing. They're telling a story. And it's one you'll never forget. Not many people can say they stood over 8 feet tall, played for a national basketball team, and appeared in a classic film, but Sully Ali Nush did all that and more. And somehow, his story has barely been told. Born in 1943 in Tripoli, Libya, Sully had an ordinary childhood, until everything changed in his teens. His body began stretching rapidly, far beyond what anyone thought possible. Doctors later found a tumor near his pituitary gland, triggering gigantism, a rare condition that sent his growth into overdrive. The result? A final height of 8 feet and half an inch. One of the tallest humans in recorded history. But Sully didn't hide from the world. He stepped into it with purpose. He used his incredible size to dominate on the court, representing Libya's national basketball team, and later made his way to the big screen, appearing in Federico Fellini's 1960 film Satyricon. Yes, a literal giant of cinema. But being extraordinary came with a cost. Sully Ali faced constant pain, struggled with mobility, and lived in a time where proper medical treatment for someone like him was hard to come by. He eventually underwent surgery to stop the growth, but by then his life had already taken its toll. Despite his accomplishments, his name is rarely mentioned today. He passed away in 1991, quietly leaving behind a legacy that deserves way more spotlight. Because Sully Ali Nush wasn't just a tall man, he was a towering symbol of resilience, talent, and grace. At 8 feet 2 inches tall, Munir Fur was once called the tallest man in Africa, and the second tallest in the world. But behind the headlines and record books was a story most people never saw. A life marked not by fame, but by pain, isolation, and an unrelenting fight for dignity. Born in Batna, Algeria, Munir's early childhood seemed normal. He laughed. He played. Nothing about him screamed world record. But by age 12, everything changed. A rare condition affecting his pituitary gland triggered gigantism, sending his body into overdrive. He began growing fast and never stopped. His arms, legs, spine, his entire frame stretched beyond control. Strangers were stunned. People stared like they were witnessing something impossible. But while the world gawked at his size, Munir was quietly suffering. Walking became exhausting. Eating was difficult. Even sleeping was a daily struggle. And in his small hometown, access to the specialized care he desperately needed was nearly non-existent. Still, Munir refused to let the world reduce him to just the tall guy. He tried to live with purpose, with dignity, with hope. Behind his massive frame was an even bigger heart. But in 2012, that heart gave out. Silently. After years of fighting, Munir Fur passed away, his final chapter written in quiet struggle. No spotlight. No global tribute. Just the end of a life that should have been celebrated more than just measured. Because what made Munir remarkable wasn't just his height, it was his will to rise above it. He once held the title of the world's tallest man. But for Hussein Bisad, life has been far from towering success. Born in Somalia, Hussein stands at a staggering 7 feet 9 inches, a presence so massive that people still do double takes wherever he goes. But behind that towering frame lies a story that's just as heavy, one of struggle, survival, and quiet resilience. Hussein lives with acromegaly, a rare hormonal disorder caused by a tumor that sends growth hormones into overdrive. It didn't just make him tall, it gave him some of the largest hands ever recorded, each over 10 inches long. And yeah, that sounds impressive, almost superhuman. But the truth? It's been a battle. Every single day. He fled civil war in Somalia, seeking refuge in the UK, hoping to build a better, safer life. But what met him wasn't comfort, it was new challenges. Chronic health issues. Loneliness. Limited mobility. Even the most basic tasks require help. Now in his 40s, Hussein lives in a care home, relying on full-time support to get by. And yet, through the pain and isolation, his spirit hasn't faded. In a recent public appeal, Hussein didn't speak for himself, he spoke up for others. For the vulnerable. The forgotten. The ones society often overlooks. He called for compassion, for dignity, for humanity. His body may have set records, but it's his voice and heart that leave the deepest mark. Before TikTok trends and viral fame crowned new giants every month, Gabriel Jane was already a legend, towering above the world, long before anyone thought to post about it. Standing at a staggering 8 feet and 3/4 of an inch, Gabriel wasn't just the tallest man in Mozambique, he once held the title of the tallest living person on Earth. Born in 1944, his growth wasn't gradual, it was explosive. A rare disorder called acromegaly was behind it, a condition that floods the body with excessive growth hormone. And by his teenage years, it was clear, this wasn't just a tall kid. This was history in motion. But height alone doesn't tell the whole story. Because Gabriel's size came with real struggle. Chronic pain. Mobility issues. A body that refused to cooperate with everyday life. And in rural Mozambique, access to specialized care wasn't just rare, it was non-existent. Walking became a daily challenge. Yet somehow, he kept moving forward. Gabriel found purpose in performance, traveling with circuses, crossing borders, and capturing imaginations wherever he went. In 1988, he was officially recognized by Guinness World Records, a title that brought the world spotlight, even if just for a moment. But the applause fades. And behind the curtains, life was heavy. In 1990, a tragic fall at home took him from this world at just 46 years old. No farewell tour. No fanfare. Just silence. But giants don't disappear, they leave echoes. And Gabriel's story? It still stands tall. When Manute Bol stepped onto an NBA court, people didn't just notice, they froze. At 7 feet 7 inches tall, he wasn't just one of the tallest players in league history, he was legendary. But here's what most people miss. His greatest legacy wasn't in basketball, it was in humanity. Born in 1962 to the Dinka tribe of Sudan, Manute's body was built like something out of myth. Limbs impossibly long. A wingspan of 8 feet 6 inches. Coaches joked he could block shots in his sleep. No jump required. Having him in the paint was like installing a moving skyscraper with reflexes. But Manute didn't come to the NBA to be a sideshow. He came with purpose. And off the court, that purpose only grew stronger. As Sudan descended into civil war, Manute became more than an athlete. He became a symbol. A fighter for peace. A hero without a cape. He gave away nearly everything he earned, millions of dollars, to build schools, hospitals, and provide relief for war victims. And we're not talking feel-good charity. We're talking sacrifice. He gave so much that he reportedly went broke helping others. And the toll didn't stop there. His health collapsed, one issue after another. Still, he never complained. He never backed down. Because to him, every blocked shot, every dollar given, every breath was for something bigger. He wasn't just tall, he stood for something. And that's what makes Manute Bol unforgettable. Think finding the right shoes is tough? Raheem Takiula would probably laugh, and then step over you. Because this Moroccan giant doesn't just have big feet, he holds the Guinness World Record for the largest feet on Earth. Each foot stretches an unbelievable 1 foot 3 inches long. That's a size 58 in European shoes. Let that sink in. You can forget about mall shopping. Raheem's shoes have to be custom crafted by orthopedic specialists. Yeah, it's that real. But the story doesn't stop at his feet. Raheem also stands at a jaw-dropping 8 feet 1 inch tall, making him one of the tallest living men on the planet. His extreme size? It's the result of acromegaly, a rare hormonal condition triggered by a tumor near his pituitary gland. It sent his growth into overdrive. Feet, height, limbs, everything just kept expanding. Born in 1982, Raheem didn't even realize something was off until his teen years. By 18, he wasn't just tall, he was towering over teachers, doctors, and doorways. Eventually, he underwent surgery to stop the abnormal growth, but the changes his body made? Permanent. His feet never shrank. His height never settled. And his presence? Unforgettable. Because Raheem's story isn't just about a world record, it's about adapting to a life few people could ever walk a mile in, even if they had the shoes. They say some people grow into greatness. But Sulamana Abdul samed? He never stopped growing, literally. His story isn't a figure of speech, it's a physical reality that stuns anyone who meets him. Born in the quiet town of Gambega in northern Ghana, Sulamana doesn't just walk into a room, he looms over it. People don't just stare, they freeze. Because standing beside him feels like standing next to a living skyscraper. At last check, Sulamana measured a staggering 9 feet 6 inches tall. Yeah, you heard that right, 9 foot 6. And the wildest part? He might still be growing. Locals call him O, which in Dagbani means, let's go. Fitting, right? Because if you don't move fast, you'll be left behind by those massive, effortless strides. But behind the jaw-dropping height is a man fighting a silent battle. Sulamana has pituitary gigantism, a rare disorder where his brain just doesn't know when to stop releasing growth hormones. And this isn't just about being tall. His spine is curved. His limbs are swollen. The pain? Constant. It's like living in a body that's expanding faster than life can keep up with. And yet, he carries it all, with calm, with grace. When doctors first tried to measure him, they literally ran out of tape. No joke, they had to guess. Later, when the real numbers came in, even hospital staff were floored. But Sulamana wasn't. He just smiled. Because to him, this is normal. This is life. And instead of shrinking under the weight of a rare condition and a world that barely knows how to respond, he chooses to stand tall, both literally and in spirit. While others stare, he walks forward. With pride. With power. With purpose. They call her Bustage, but her real name is Joyce Adu, and she's not just a Ghanaian socialite. She's a walking headline, a real-life paradox who's out here bending physics, turning heads, and somehow keeping her balance. Most of the time. Because Joyce doesn't just have a larger-than-life presence, it's literally true. Her chest is so massive, it's got its own gravitational agenda. And she's not exaggerating. In an interview with DJ Nyami on SVTV Africa, Joyce casually dropped a line that made the internet do a double take. She said when she wears a bra, she can't see straight ahead. Her boobs literally block her field of vision. Now picture that. Just imagine trying to walk around with 2 airbags strapped to your torso, then attempting a staircase. Yet, not great. Spoiler alert, she fell. And this wasn't some cartoon tumble, it landed her in the hospital. For weeks. Talk about a wardrobe malfunction with real-life consequences. And here's the kicker, she says she actually sees more clearly without a bra. So now we have to ask, are bras helping, or are they just blindfolds in disguise? Should we launch a petition? Free the vision? But let's step back from the jokes for a second. Because Joyce isn't just out here for laughs or likes. She walks through a world that's constantly trying to shrink women down, and instead, she stands tall, owning every curve, every scar, every stare. That kind of confidence? It's rare. It's real. And honestly, it deserves a standing ovation, just maybe from a safe distance. Thanks for watching. If you found these stories as incredible as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a moment of the extraordinary. See you in the next one.